My name is Xiaohan Ding, coming from Virginia Tech. I'm very happy today to present our work, Designing Human-AI Collaboration to Support Learning in Counterspeech Writing. First of all, I'd like to thank all of my co-authors at Virginia Tech. In this presentation, I will follow this order to show why counterspeech matters, what challenges are, how our system CounterQuill supports everyday users to learn and write effective counterspeech, and the design implication from our study. I will first start with the motivation and the problem space from our study. Hate speech online is growing fast. It harms people and the society in many ways. And recently, online social media platforms like Facebook, Reddit reduced their restriction on hate speech. That means the job of responding is now pushed more onto normal users, so people are expected to step in and respond when they see the harmful content. We may have a question: in what kind of way we can reduce the online hate? One possible answer is counterspeech. Counterspeech means responding to hate not with more hate, but with the words that challenge it and also support the target. But in reality, it is not easy for normal users. Why counterspeech is hard? For example, people may be afraid of the retaliation from the hate speaker. They may not know what to say or how to say it. Also, lots of the everyday users do not have enough AI knowledge. For example, the prompt technology or programming with AI for text generation. Even if right now we have lots of AI tool for counter-speech generation, this is still a challenge for everyday user asking AI for help. Secondly, as we all know, online social platform like Reddit, they have their own moderation policy, but current moderation tools focuses on detecting and removing hate, but they do not empower users. So we need a system or strategy that help everyday users learn, reflect, and respond by themselves. Then I'd like to talk about some research gaps specifically for AI generation and large language model in order to further motivate our research. So currently many deep learning and NLP studies use AI to detect hate speech or to automatically generate counter speech. They focus on the classification accuracy, prompt engineering, and generating some counter response. But AI generated text often feel fake. Uh, People sometimes dislike it. This is mainly because AI generated counter speech does not carry the user real voice or emotions. It may also create some trust and ethical problems. So people hesitate to use the auto-generated counter speech. And our goal is different. We want to design an AI system that empower users, not replace human, and our AI agents can be a partner that teach and guide writing counter speech. Even if for the everyday users who do not have enough AI knowledge, they still can use our system for counter speech generation. And most important, we want to keep the human voice in control. Okay, right now I'd like to introduce our system, CounterQuill. This is a very high-level teaser image for our system, but I will go through the detail step by step. Our system CounterQuill is a human AI collaborative tools for writing counter speech. The idea for our system is not to auto-generate responses, but to teach user to recognize, reflect, and respond to hate speech. We follow the idea of computational thinking to design our system. This means breaking down a hard problem into clear steps. In our case, the steps are: first, understand hate speech and counter speech; second, generate counter speech strategies; third, co-write with user for the final counter responses. Based on that, we design our system with three main goals. First, we try to design our system to help people build the understanding of hate speech especially to learn the differences between implicit and explicit hate speech. Also, our system educates people to understand what is a good counter-speech strategy. Second, our system tries to ask a user to read the hate speech and highlight the harmful parts of the hate speech. For example, the identity and dehumanization. Then, our system will guide the user with some reflective question and generate some corresponding strategy. The third goal, we try to let the user start with their own thought from the previous practice. Once they write down the counter speech, we try to design our system to offer some selective help. And based on our DG1 to 3, Counter Quill has 3 sessions: learning, brainstorming, and co-writing. In the learning session, user first learn about hate speech and its impact. So as you can say from the screenshot, once user finish the learning with the knowledge card, they can click the next button and they can continue to learn the concept of the counter speech with a focus on the empathetic based response. And the learning session will be ended with a short quiz. This makes sure the users understand the content and concept before moving on. In the brainstorming session, we have 2 parts, so I will go through that one by one. Here is a part 1 for the brainstorming session. Our system asks the user to read the hate speech first and highlight the harmful parts. The highlight process was designed by 2 social science experts, and we ask the user to highlight number 1, the aspect of an individual or group's identity with yellow. Number 2, the action or the perception that dehumanizes the person or group with green. Once the user finishes the highlighting, they can click the down button. Our system will pop up the sample highlighted result for people to compare or double check. Here is a part 2 for the brainstorming session. Since people finish the highlighting, which means they have some initial understanding of the hate speech, our system follow up users' highlighting result and ask some reflective questions. So the questions are asking about stereotypes and emotional harm. So the users can type their answer in the text box and then click the done button. Our system will base on the user input to generate its counter speech suggestion. So after that, user typically will read the suggestion. If they find some part is really important, they can select the specific part and click the take notes button to highlight this part as purple. At the same time, this part will be automatically saved to our backend database because we will use that later. In the co-writing session, user will start with a very simple tutorial video to learn how to use our CounterQuill writing assistant. So the user can check their brainstorming notes right now, if you remember that I mentioned before. So the notes are the user highlight during the brainstorming session. To reduce the emotional burden for user writing counter speech from scratch, we use the user reflection questions answer as their first draft. So user can further make some modification for counter speech draft until they want to use our writing assistant and then ask for some help. Okay, so once user want to ask for some help, they can select the specific part and click the writing help button. CounterQuill will provide such help. For example, in this screenshot, user asks polish the writing and rewrite as empathetic tone. So CounterQuill will generate the response. User can read the AI generated content. If they prefer to use that, they can click the insert button to replace their writing. And definitely, the user can still make modification again if they want to polish more. Okay, that's all for my system. Right now, I will move on to the user study. To study counterquill, we recruit 20 participants. They were aged from 20 to 44 with different genders and backgrounds. Half of them has computer science and AI background, but 10 participants do not have any AI background. 5 participants joined in our lab and 15 joined by Zoom. So for the process, each participant works through with 20 examples of hate speech. The topic for the hate speech covering race, gender, immigration, disability, and religion. The dataset were coming from my previous publication. So they used the counterquill workflow. It took about 40 minutes, and the interview took about 20 minutes. Now, our interview questions are guided by these 3 research questions. So first, how do learning sessions shape users' understanding of hate speech? RQ2, how do brainstorming sessions affect confidence and strategy? RQ3, how does co-writing with AI influence authorship perception? Some key findings we found from the study. Since of the time reason, I will mainly talk about the key findings from brainstorming session and writing session. In the brainstorming, the highlighting task helped participants to break down the hateful content into identity and dehumanization, which pushes users to think deeper. Instead of angry or uncertain reply, they give more thoughtful and empathetic counter-speech ideas. An AI suggestion also gave the participant a good starting point, which made them feel more confident and to draft the counter speech. In the co-writing session, the saved note worked as scaffolding. This gave users a clear starting point and reduced the stress. The selective rewrite part is also very helpful. It allows some small edit, for example, the grammar change or polish as empathetic tone. Because our system never took over the full text, so participants feel co-authorship about the final counter speech. From our study, we found some very important insight. First, AI can work as an educator, not replace human. It can teach and support for the human task, not just generate everything for you. Second, the structured workflow makes the hard task of the counter speech easier, reducing both cognitive and emotional burden. Third, keeping the authorship we believe is always important because people prefer to trust and use the AI system if they feel ownership of their words. Finally, this kind of AI collaboration pipeline can also be helpful in other communication and educational tasks. Our study also has some limitation. First, the sample size for our user study is relatively small. We only have 20 participants, and each participant only tests on one hate speech scenario, since of the time reason. So based on the limitation in the future, we plan to do multiple long-term user study with more diverse population. We will test multiple hate speech contexts. Right now, for my current research, our team are developing a browser extension for Counterquill. So we plan to embed this extension with different social media platforms. So people can use Counterquill directly on these platforms like Reddit or Twitter. Finally, we want to recruit more experts to evaluate the counter speech for long-term study of the real-world use. Thanks so much for listening my study.